I want to start off by saying that going through the IMDb trivia page on this, or even just reading about it on Wikipedia, this is one of the biggest, like, what could have been movies of all time.
Really?
Like, yeah. Um, Cary Grant was the original person that he wanted to play Mr. Jordan.
James Mason part.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would have been great.
Muhammad Ali was the original pick to be the star because it's about a boxer, and he couldn't get away from his boxing commitments to be in it. So then they rewrote the movie. That's why Beatty has a writing credit on it, because he had to help rewrite it so that it would be about a football star, because he could play football but he couldn't box.
Uh-huh.
Right. There's all these crazy details about these different people who almost got cast in it, who almost directed it. Like, it's such a weird, like, everybody was everybody's third choice on this, up to and including Warren Beatty himself. Like, wow. It's also one of the only times anyone's ever been nominated in 3 Oscar categories, or like areas at the same time, because he was nominated for Best Picture, for Best Acting, and for Best Writing.
Oh, wow. That's for screenplay. Yeah.
And then he did it again with Reds.
Yeah, right. Huh.
Like, well, back then he ran Hollywood back then. That's so.
Well, he's like, one thing I will say is it's been a long time since I've seen a Warren Beatty movie. He's so watchable.
He is.
He's so, like, he can really just command a scene just by being there. He's very affable seeming in this movie. He's very interested in it's going to be hard not to compare this to Quantum Leap, but you have the Bakula moments at the beginning of every episode where he just has that befuddled look on his face.
The fish out of water part.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No.
I don't know. I have to disagree. I've just never liked Warren Beatty, like, ever.
Oh, wow. Between him and
I've never, like, vehemently hated him or anything. I never saw the draw, with the exception of Bonnie and Clyde, I would probably say.
Oh, Reds is so good.
He's made some good stuff. He made Mickey One and Bulworth, and he's made some great.
Bulworth is that sort of like yelling Pacino part of his career.
I think he's trying to move a new direction on that one.
Yeah, like he's in a different place in Bulworth.
You get the feeling that he wanted to go to a different place in Bulworth. He was kind of like, look, you've never seen me do this before.
We go back to what Tad said about him just being one of the things about Warren Beatty. He is very relaxed and natural on the screen all the time. Yeah, him and Shirley MacLaine, his sister. Those guys both have this ease on screen, and your eye always goes to them. It's a weird animal magnetism thing. It's really unusual.
Well, he's very attractive.
He is very attractive.
Yeah, he's a really good looking guy,
dude. Man,
Chris had said something to me the other day about this, and I think you just said it was like the perfect casting for this movie.
I think so.
Yeah.
I thought the best.
I don't think Julie Christie fits in this world whatsoever.
Oh my God, she
was miscast. She's too old for that role.
She's also too stuffy ass British.
Little post-teenager, college level, bug-eyed. Yeah, you could have got Jenny Agutter, or you could have got Farrah Fawcett or something like that at that time to be just.
But Farrah Fawcett couldn't act her way out of a fucking
but someone who was 20, 25 and could act.
But Julie Christie's overacting. She still thinks she's in like fucking Sound of Music or some shit. I don't know.
She bugs her eyes out so many times in this, but unfortunately, it's Diane Cann to be the worst person in the movie, but she's in the middle somewhere. But
the best person in this movie is fucking
Charles Grodin.
Charles Grodin.
Oh, Charles Grodin. He lands the biggest laughs for sure.
I gotta give it to James Mason. I gotta give it.
Okay. He wasn't in it enough to really make.
No, he wasn't in it enough. But every time he's in it, I'm immediately looking at him. Like, I want to know what he's about to do. When he's like, Joe, come over here, and he just puts his arms out like that, and he just everything changes on Warren Beatty's face, and he's like, oh, I should go over there. Like, that's the James Mason as God is a very good cast. Like,
no, it's good. It is actually pretty effective, and he does a really good job of it because he is inscrutable. You're right. Yeah.
One thing I noticed, to compare these movies a little bit, we're going to talk about one that was directed by Sidney Lumet in a minute. This one was not directed by Sidney Lumet, and you can
wasn't.
You can tell.
It's back to these two guys. These guys.
It's okay, but there's some pretty pedestrian choices of shots and transitions and stuff. That's just like they're walking around. This was shot at Filoli, and
which is kind of neat, actually.
Yeah, that's weirdly.
It gets a credit. It gets a credit.
It gets a credit. And weirdly, it just popped up for me on PBS. We were watching Antiques Roadshow, and they were doing an episode from there. And then somebody mentioned it somewhere on the radio, and then I watched this movie, and there's Filoli again. So it's like coming at me this week. But I was just going to say, those scenes where he and Julie Christie are walking around, it's like, put the camera somewhere interesting, man, because it's just one lame shot after another.
No, it's like behind Chris. It's just dropped in the corner, and everybody is kind of does a proscenium thing.
That's pretty much the description of every shot.
The football scenes are really dynamic and interesting, especially for the time. And this is the only time. This is the only time that anybody had seen.
I thought those were pretty good too. Actually,
It was the only time anybody had seen football in high definition until HDTV came around.
Yeah, right.
You'd never seen football like that.
And you read the IMDb. So I lived in LA when this came out.
Right.
And we're all like, when this comes out in 1978, it's like, Rams in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And then they go 2 years later and get smoked.
Well, right. But I think it's Rams and Steelers, which I actually think was the 79 or 80 Super Bowl.
80
right?
Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
and then they get the shit kicked out of them. And then the Rams become the second team ever to play the Super Bowl in their home stadium, which is what they're doing here too.
Right. I was actually a few miles from my house at the time.
2021 was the first time a team ever played the Super Bowl in their home stadium, and it was the Bucks. And then in 2022, it was the Rams, and both teams won.
Now, that film actually showed you how huge LA Memorial Coliseum was. There's a couple aerial shots. It's like it'll hold 100,000 people, basically. It's immense. It was built for the 36. Was it the 32 Olympics?
36.
Yeah, 36. No, that was the one.
No, that was a Hitler one.
That was a Hitler one.
32. It must have been 32 then.
Hitler had to show up here somewhere. So
yeah, well, we had to give him a mention.
Jim's not around.
Yeah. Here's to you, Jim.
Oh, Jim, in Mexico.
I'm having a chelada in his honor.
No, I'm gonna rewrite Jim Dennis the Menace in Mexico. It's gonna be Jim the Menace in Mexico.
So I saw this, I think, 3 times in the theater when it came out. I have no idea why. I was 13 at the time. I know. Like I was, so your parents give you a couple bucks to go see a movie, and you
go see a movie. Yeah, we gotta go shopping.
Back to this one, and so it's kind of hard for me to separate my attachment to this over the fact that I really, really liked it as a kid. But I had actually seen this in a while until I put it on the other night, and I was reminded of how much I love this fucking movie. I mean, you guys haven't even talked about like the supporting cast. I actually think Diane Cannon is just fine. It's
got everybody. It's got Jack Warden.
Jack Warden steals every scene he's in.
We praise Grodin. Yeah, the guy who played the assistant coach. Is that him, the old guy?
Jack Warden.
Dolph Sweet.
He's awesome.
He's got the 2 best scenes then, the scenes that I remember distinctly, having not seen this movie in like almost 40 years. Jack Warden has the 2 scenes that stood out for me. There's the scene where he's talking to Warren Beatty, and he believes him because Warren Beatty plays the clarinet, and he turns around and says, "Joe, you never could play that thing." Man, great scene. Man. And then there's the scene at the end in the locker room when Warren Beatty's character loses his memory,
which is sort of fucked.
It's heartbreaking.
No, it's wonderful. It's a nice scene because it's kind of like
it's the best scene in the movie.
It reestablishes the natural order, and yet it was still.
But they're beyond stretching when Julie Christie agrees to fucking go to dinner,
get coffee,
get coffee.
Now,
I mean, it's just so ridiculous.
He does say you're going to meet somebody else, and it's going to be a quarterback.
Yeah, he set it up for it in the scene right before he gets shot.
Okay, well, hold on, stick a pin in this for a second. One of the things that bothered me like crazy about this film is what a crazy rich people bourgeois film this is. It's about this super successful quarterback guy who gets killed, and because God loves him, gets to be a millionaire.
A billionaire who buys the fucking brand.
Yeah, and then he goes around and he gets to be a quarterback again
as the billionaire.
It's like
and then he gets to be a quarterback again after the billionaire dies.
Who won the Super Bowl?
This would make any like communist seethe with things like
hello.
Yeah, there you go.
I think this is fucking hilarious. I laughed a lot still. I think that I think this is one of Warren Beatty's best performances, if for no other reason than that sort of weird blank thing that he does works perfectly with a guy who's ostensibly a bit of a lummox, nice guy, but maybe not tremendously bright, getting dropped into the body of someone who is supposed to be tremendously bright. And that disconnect sort of works for me.
Oh, famously smart billionaires.
Oh, the great thing about the great thing about the billionaires he goes into is that you don't really see any pictures of him. You don't know him. You get everything.
They do that with the football player that he becomes too. They're very careful never to show the faces of people.
It's fun because he has a closet full of weird uniforms he wears for dinner, and he has all these
that
stuff
shit's
a
so
cannon
funny.
and raises the flag. It's like he's a bizarre motherfucker, this guy.
Don't show me any more hats.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
Do I play polo?
I know.
No, not really, sir.
Not really, sir. Do I sail? No, sir.
Not really.
You're laughing.
That's probably the funniest stuff in the movie.
Yeah, it is.
That honestly is.
Him and Buck Henry, where it's like, get out of here, you're bad news.
Yeah.
Like
I feel like
that's great.
What year was this? 70 something, right?
78.
See, I feel like this is one of those movies where it might have been the first one to do this. I'm not sure, but it's just one of those like Freaky Friday movies, that.
Yep. Except for Freaky Friday, yeah.
This isn't the first. This isn't the first filmed version of this story.
No,
I didn't think so. Yeah,
this is the second
I thought
version.
I read something.
The third.
They made it in the 40s, or
Yeah.
late 30s.
Mr. Jordan.
Here comes Mr. Jordan.
They made a sequel to it where it's a woman.
I just think that even though I mostly enjoyed this movie, I just kind of hate this genre in general. It's like this whimsy, stupid switch places.
Oh, I want to strangle whoever did the music for this film. Oh,
yeah, the music is very
throw forward. The music in both of these movies.
I'll tell you though, the first half was more annoying than once I kind of settled in. I actually enjoyed myself. Like I got into the second half and
Yeah,
but it took a while. At first, when he became the millionaire, and it was just kind of it meandered a bit, and I was like, I don't like this. But then it went. Then it kind of picked up.
Right, kind of picks up steam.
The third act tightened up a lot, which is nice.
I actually liked the little gags about him just constantly talking about muscles. Like, that whole bit at the beginning. He's like, "Oh, your trapezius is coming up into your, and then he does the
shake."
Sugar, he does the
he's always making the green shakes.
He does the coin, and he's like, "I do it because it works out this muscle right here," and he's just holding, palming the coin. Like I thought, but I'm gonna say that I'm gonna probably forget most of this movie in a couple of weeks because I didn't find it particularly funny. Like that's sort of the bummer to me is that I like so much of the framework around this. And unlike Jared, I don't have a problem with this type of story. I referenced Quantum Leap. I liked Quantum Leap. I thought that was a fun show.
It was.
There's something to me watching this movie just fell flat in the comedy.
I agree with Tad on that.
And it could be a generational thing too.
I think it's a little bit of a generational thing. It's like it's not old enough for you to say, "Oh, I'm watching an old movie," and you kind of grant it certain pacing and style things. Where this is sort of a weird gray area. It almost feels like a modern movie, but it's clunky. You know?
10 years after this, he's in one of the first movies I ever see in the theater, which is Dick Tracy. So he's a movie star of my age.
Yeah.
But to me feels.
But that was like the last stage of his career.
Here's my right. This feels like it's in this weird gray area where it's like we don't really know where we are.
Yeah, I have a theory about this.
It is also, if I could just slot in here real quick. Hold your theory. That this is sort of right after the 70s indie kind of new wave thing that happened in America, and this is sort of the lurch back to popular entertainment.
No, it's cookie cutter. I'll give you that. But the point I'm trying to make is that this is Warren Beatty's movie, and this is a point in his career and maybe in film history where he wasn't willing to make fun of himself. He cracks jokes and is kind of funny, but he's always in every scene being Mr. Handsome, smiley guy, and
athletic.
And athletic too. And if you don't, he's kind of
always doing push-ups in the clouds.
I know he's always kind of making himself look like the best person ever in every scene, and that's not how comedy works.
No.
Good point.
Good
point. But fine. It's fine because he is surrounded by people that know how to landed.
Which is why Charles Grodin stole the movie, because
and it's also not wrong for the character since he's kind of a dumb football player.
Yeah,
but he's obsessed with muscles and you know what he protein shakes and
at the board meeting. I mean, that shit's great.
Yeah, the board meeting's pretty funny.
He just wants to win the Super Bowl more than anything.
I'm not saying there's no good jokes in this. I think there definitely are good jokes in it, but like I found myself laughing like once, maybe every.
No, there's some good bits.
Yeah.
Like they do it twice and it's genius. It's Grodin behind the curtain is just so funny.
That's a good bit.
Why did you answer him?
It's just really good. It's really good because the character that Warren Beatty's playing obviously doesn't give a shit.
Right.
That's what makes it so funny. They give a shit.
By the way, you're getting a divorce, and no, you won't.
yeah. I don't love you. You don't love me. So let's get a divorce.
Exactly.
Grodin on the football field after he's bought the team, and he's basically going out there and talking shit about Beatty.
Oh yeah, telling the guys are racist and things like that. Watching him get clotheslined. That's the best too.
And then sitting in the stands and watching him get creamed with a smile on his face.
Grodin was actually, I think he was part of the newer type of comedy coming up. You know, like Steve Martin and that kind of thing came up.
Yeah,
he's kind of ahead of his time back then.
A lot meaner.
He's
the meanest one of them.
It's the Rodney Dangerfield, you know, that's a nice hat to come free with a bowl of soup kind of joke.
Yeah,
that's a good joke.
All right, well,
I enjoyed the shit out of this.
Okay,
I haven't seen it in a really long, maybe 30 years.
I still like it. It's charming.
Made for 4.5. It made $80.
I'm gonna give it like
$80 that year. So
it was a huge hit,
and got nominated for a whole bunch of Oscars,
which I didn't deserve if you ask me.
Insane,
but
I'll give it like it's almost.
I kind of enjoyed it. I did not think it was Oscar worthy, but that's who you can tell, right?
Well, what was it up against that year? 70. Well,
let's not do that one again. We did that.
No, but I mean that would have been Oscar 79. So
you can throw a graphic up later, though, Scott.
I will. I
answer the question.
Wizard of Oz and Gone with the Wind and
Taxi Driver.
No, wait, wrong.
No, it was 76.
Oh, I think 39. I'm sorry, I was thinking with
76. Yeah, I don't have to look. What was?
We'll look it up. I'll put a graphic up later. All right, we hit the thumbs. I think wait.
I'm probably the lowest. I'm here.
Right.
Solid.
I'd say a little generational split here.
I'm kind of 11 o'clock. I'm 11 o'clock-ish myself, only because of the class issues, but there it is.